that Galaxy Eyes in my Genesys format? Now make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more content. So Kong's just ran another Genesys format tournament. I've been enjoying, even though these are a little bit more down to earth styles of events, I do like the fact that we get to see, you know, maybe a little bit more casual things. Now, I mean, we recently just had a point adjustment, you know, and with this new list, things have gotten what I would consider a little bit more chaotic, because Runic has kind of been tipping the scales, maybe not in really a good direction. But for this event, we had two Lunalight duelists showing up. One of those lists ended up being a Lunalight Purrely list. Now, if you think about the level of synergy that these two potential engines could have together, two towers is not something that you really want to be messing around with. We also had two Radiant Typhoon decks. I'm not, once again, surprised to see Radiant Typhoon has been doing very, very strongly. That new package is really, really good. We did have a punk pile. You know, the Psychic Good stuff has really, really, really been showing its pieces, but not in this scenario because it's just more punk. We do have some shocking Generaider action. You know, it's cool to see that they forced the deck off of the True King of All Calamities and have actually tried to counterbalance things a little bit in that regard. They also have a Fire King deck. I'm not surprised to see Fire King continuing to pop up every once in a while. Fire King definitely remains one of those stronger decks, but to my surprise, we had a Galaxy Eyes deck actually making a surprising appearance. And I think that's by far what the definition of what this format should be about. You should be able to see something like Galaxy Eyes showing up and actually making a nice little splash within the meta, and that's good enough for me. Let's pass on over those deck lists. Alright, so starting things off here, we have Lunalights lending this event. I mean, who needs all of the brokenness when we can just toss some points and thrust, go get a heavy polymerization, and just kind of go off to the races. I love the fact that this dedicated duelist has really, really, really just been tearing through the Kong's events. You know, I think Lunalight is one of the scariest decks you can run into because Towers monsters are very, very broken. But this is a format where I think somebody is more likely to have a Kaiju to try to out these sort of things. But we do see, you know, even double Miracle, or double Lunalight Fusion, the triple Masquerade. We also do see, you know, even only one DD Crow. But their point dedication is just fine. I think they are hitting everything that this deck needs to be hitting, and they're playing it at the best of the meta level that you can. I mean, without, you know, having extra recurable resources. But, I mean, that's fine. That's a story for another day. We have some Punk Thurion for you. Now, honestly, the Punk Thurion good stuff still kind of remains one of the better challenges with them in the meta. You do see, though, that this list has actually chosen to be playing the Solemn Scolding in the side deck. Scolding, I personally feel like, is one of those powerhouse cards that you want to have. I did see a lot of Magic Deflector action from this duelist too. Deflector, especially with some of the matchups that you're kind of running into in this format, Deflector is going to be your best friend. This deck also gets to play Trade-In, which, you know, hilariously enough, Trade-In doesn't really feel like as good of a card anymore, but in a slower sort of format like this, I can kind of get behind actually using trade-ins to kind of cycle through, generate some extra bodies. You have all the good side deck stuff down here, actually handling you very, very, very nicely. So it looks pretty good. Next up, we have Generaider with Radiant Typhoon cards, actually. So, once again, this is the result of, hey, level 9s can combine with each other. You know, we can play these sort of broken cards, and it all ends up kind of coming together because, you know, the Generaider stuff is incredibly good. You also can thank Lopter for having this happen, and also the World Legacy monstrosity itself, just getting you to those key pieces. Yes, they did put some, you know, points on Leviathan. You know, they made this deck a little bit more costly for what it is, but that's fine. You know, we'll just go ahead and take out True King of All Calamities and shift into playing better cards. Generaider gets to be a real deck now at this stage. You also do get to see, yes, Chalice might be 5 points, but I think this card is still very, very strong as a candidate for really blowing your opponent out of the water. This is by far, I think, one of the evilest decks that you can play in the room. So what happens if we just take all these Purrely cards, slap them together, use our point dedication for this, and then we just make a big fat cat next to a Lunalight monster? Huh. That suddenly changes my opinion about these problem cards. Because now I'm looking at this going, oh god, this becomes even more problematic. You know, I always wanted to deal with a Liger Dancer sitting next to a Nora. I watched some of the feature or some of the games for this, and I really do feel like this deck was very, very strong. You also do get to see, you know, we are playing Radiant Typhoon down here. I mean, if I need an MST, I got it. If I need some draw power to get these bad Purrely cards out of my hand, boom, I've got immediate access to it. So, I mean, this is answering most of my problems that we would have with something like this. So, this does, I feel, look pretty good. Oh, look, we have more Radiant Typhoon for you. Yes, we are playing Extrav in here. Yes, I understand that, you know, we are playing Runic with this, but you got to make your, you know, your big hits where you can. You know, we don't have access to the extra monster zone, so, you know, Runic, you're going to have to hard troll into us. Granted, I mean, you can very easily do so. It's just a little bit less consistent than you want. I do see that we are going for some hilarious extra deck options down here because we are playing the Waking the Dragon. I do imagine if I'm slamming down Light Flare on the table, that my opponent is going to literally be very confused and very, very scared just for the potential of what's coming the way. But I mean, your opponent's more likely to trigger this in this format. I don't think a lot of people really think about that. You know, if Waking the Dragon becomes very, very broken, I mean, your opponent played into it, especially with the Radiant Typhoon stuff running around. Next up is Fire King Good Stuff. You know, even with Impulse now being pointed, I mean, this deck gets away with playing Fire Attacker for the extra value, because you're just like, oh, hey, you know, we just net some advantage off of this. You know, I can go ahead and get a couple of extra little toggles. That's fine. You're still only playing two Ukulonics anyway, and 2 copies of Ponic. So, I mean, this is still such a huge point dedication. 60 points right there with, you know, 30 more right here. You're very much having to make those major sacrifices to be able to play this. I also do say, hey, look, we get to play Breakthrough Skill. Anytime Breakthrough Skill does show up as a card, I think it's kind of okay. You know, you get a little bit of a shocking realization this works out. Also, we are only side decking a single copy of Ultimate Slayer. So, I feel like you got pretty much all the good stuff that you want here. Oh, we got more Radiant Typhoon. You know, triple copies of Pot of Greed in the main deck. Yeah, let's go ahead and just use 99% of our points at Pot of Greed just to, you know, hey, we can draw cards. I don't have to sacrifice my extra deck if I can just go Pot of Greed, Pot of Greed, Pot of Greed. And it's just like, oh boy, you know, you're generating all of this extra free advantage for an interesting payoff of free cards. We are also playing Quiet Life. Activate this card at the start of your main phase 1. If you control no monsters, if any player normal or sets a monster, that player cannot special summon that turn. And if a player special summons a monster, that player cannot normal summon or set that turn. A little bit more of a chaotic floodgate, but I think that's fine, honestly. There's nothing wrong with having a nice quiet life, for example. And then we have the unbridled power of, this is the state in which I'm forced to play, you know, Galaxy Eyes. 2 Schwarzschild Infinities is 66 points. And then you have to dedicate some points to the Hope Harbinger and some points to the Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon. We've also got to actually cram in a single one a point to be playing the 7th one, which I guess this is a necessary evil within this format. You kind of got to think about, you know, does this look very, very worthwhile? And I guess the answer is yes, but what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.